Welcome back again. So we're going to start actually doing something with iOS and this endpoint stuff. So hopefully you've got your backend for movie quotes all set from last time, and we're going to start using it on the iOS side. Start with a little disclaimer. A lot of my screenshots and the slides are kind of like for the simplified web app, but for the things I'm going to show, I'm going to use the Bootstrap version of the web app. So speaking of the web app, hopefully you've still got that up and running. Hopefully you've got a deployed version. Here's my deployed version. You can see that I've got a bunch of quotes in here. I can do things in the Bootstrap version like edit and delete that I couldn't have done in the other version. Also, you're going to eventually need localhost, so you may as well go ahead and fire up localhost just so you can add things here as well, because we're going to be doing localhost development. So you definitely need to finish the last unit and make sure you've got those pieces together. Now let's show you what we're going to be doing this time. So I'm going to go ahead and go into Xcode and kind of show you the solution for what we're going for. So as soon as you fire it up, it'll say loading, and then it'll bring the quotes in. I was lucky here that my internet connection is fast enough that it just does it really fast. It actually brought in about 130 quotes total. So you can see that if I scroll down, I've got a whole bunch of quotes. And these quotes are the exact same ones as what the web client has. So if I get both screens up together, there we go. You can see it starts with "You shall not pass." What we're wanting to do in the web client is we're trying to go through CRUD, right? So the first thing in CRUD is actually the R. I know that's not the order it comes in, but it's read. So you can see that I'm able to read the data as it comes across. And if I just add a new quote, so this is just a test to my web client, what I can do on my iOS client is I can pick it up. So there I went to a new screen and came back. If I make another change, so I'll just go ahead and edit this one and I'll just say test 2. I can also, oops, I messed up what I was going to show you there. I'm going to have to change it again to test 3. And what I was going to show you, I'll be more careful about it this time, is so there it says test 2. You can also do a pull down to refresh. So I'll show you how to do a pull down to refresh. Another thing we're going to do is that you can click on it and go into a detail view. Obviously, for this quote, a detail view is completely pointless, but just like last time, if it's a long quote, you can actually see the whole thing there. Inside the detail view, what we're going to handle is we're going to handle the U, we're going to handle update. So this is just going to be modified by iOS, and I can say edit quote there. So I can see it's changed here. If I come over to this screen and hit refresh, I can see it says modified by iOS. So that was create, and no, I didn't do create yet. So if I wanted to do create, I could say hello class. This is an overview video. So there you can see that I created it on the iOS client. And if I come over here, you can see that it's there as well. I think we did everything except for delete. So delete is pretty easy. You just hit the edit button. And that shows you these circles, and then you can check things to delete, right? There's usually a bunch of quotes in here that I can get rid of. I don't really need all of these things. So there I just deleted a whole bunch. I deleted the top 2, and I also deleted kind of the bottom 2 on this page. And if I refresh over here, you can see that the delete works there. So CRUD, it's not very sexy, but man, it's really useful. And I just think it's really neat that we're talking from a web app and an iOS app, and they're all just intermingling. We're also going to be doing localhost development. So if you wanted to, in the iOS app, we're going to give you a place where you can just change which one you're pointing to. So I could say localhost development true, and if I run it again, I'm just going to be switching which backend I'm looking at, and I'm just going to be looking at the localhost backend. So there you can see I've got localhost and things like that, and you can do the same task. It's just locally to this computer. So if I create it there, I can see that that will refresh over here. You will notice a speed improvement when you do localhost, and the real reason I want to show you the localhost way of doing things is because that's how you really work with a company, right? So the company has like a deployed product, and you can't just mess with the deployed product until your feature is rock solid. So you test it locally, and you get all the bugs worked out, and then once all the bugs are worked out, then you go, push it to the live system. So I think localhost development is really important. So these are some of the skills that we're going to learn in this app is, just how do we take it away from core data so it's not using core data at all, and we just start using endpoints with the backend. We're going to be interfacing, of course, with our API Explorer. I guess we could have just checked just to make sure that your API Explorer is still working. So you can go to your API Explorer on either localhost or the deployed just by adding _AH/API Explorer. I'll do it again on my deployed here and do it a little slower. So _AH API Explorer. So what our actual iOS client is talking to are these JSON API methods. So make sure that that's up and running because you definitely are going to need that. And check that it's up on both deployed and localhost and make sure everything's working. So the next thing is we're going to kind of continue this process. So the first thing we did on the back end was created a model, and then we created our API, and then we did our API exploring. And the first thing we're going to do in this series is we're going to start in on generating client code. So from the back end, Google's got a system where you can just say generate client code, and they're going to give you a bunch of code. It's going to all be written in Objective-C, which is fine. We're going to go ahead and do this app in Swift. There is a version that's all Objective-C. I've even got videos for it, but we're going to do everything in Swift. And so that's what we're going to start in on next time. So there's kind of two options here. If you're doing Objective-C or Swift, we are going to be following the Swift track in this video. If you'd like to do the Objective-C stuff, go to the slides, click on this link, and you can see a bunch of stuff there if you'd rather learn about Objective-C. All right, that's all we've got for this time. Hopefully you know what we're up to this unit. Come back and we'll start diving into the details. See you then.